We'll get through it. So great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. It's great to see you in Australia. Thank you for staying up late. I want to begin our conversation with COVID. 4 years ago, it became the thing that took us over. How did you get through that time period and how did it change you?
I think COVID changed my life. I think it saved me. It saved me from a lot of things. It made me discover who I really am and the strengths that I never knew I had.
So I'm curious. There's so many things that you do for a living. On paper, when you look, there's entrepreneur, author, speaker, business coach. But if I put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, one of them asks you, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
Well, I would probably tell them the proper answer would be I work with words. I work with words and teach people how to use words to change their mind. But if they're a little bit older, I just tell them the truth, which is I'm just a lost soul trying to navigate the ocean depths, even at
And I
this age.
and I think a lot of them would understand that. So let me ask you this. What did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream?
Astronaut. I wanted
Okay.
to be an astronaut.
Okay. So take me back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised, and how did you get all of these motivations? You're very highly driven. There's a lot going on in your life. How did this happen and evolve into who you are today?
Well, I'm Australian born in Melbourne. I was the oldest of 10 children. I don't think it was motivation. I think the life experiences I've had is a lot different, very unique to a lot of people my age. I'm 35. I witnessed three wars by chance. I had my first child when I was 16. I'm a mother of five. I went back to school in my mid 20s. 10 years later, it took me to do a degree. I failed in so many things all my life. And that's why I say COVID saved me, because in COVID, I realized life is so fragile and tomorrow may never come. So I did everything I ever wanted. My entire bucket list for my entire life was done in COVID or started to be implemented in COVID.
And that's interesting. COVID was such a time of woe for a lot of people, but there were so many people that had experiences like you had where there was an awakening. And obviously, um, did you feel that you needed to have something major happen in your life to get to a better place? What was your mentality going into COVID?
Well, at the start, like everyone else, we didn't know. We were, plunged in the darkness into the abyss. We didn't know what was happening. But I think as you know, in Australia, we had some of the world's worst and strictest COVID. We had in Melbourne a 2-year lockdown. After a while, after the doom and gloom has worn off, you really sit with yourself and you say, well, if the world can shut down in a blink of an eye, how do I know that the dreams that I put off 10 years ago, 15 years ago, are they ever going to happen? So it's now or never. But I went through depression just like everyone else, severe depression at that as well. It took a lot of guts really to get out of there. It was a very dark place.
So I'm curious in your life, who's been kind of a hero or a inspiration for you?
I think my mother. I think my mother, she raised 10 kids on her own. My father passed away from cancer and he 52, and she had a bunch of children. So I think my mother, although is always going to be my biggest hero.
We might need to redo that. I don't know what's going on, but you just froze and it was garbled digital.
All right. We can just do that last one again if you want. If
Yeah,
the
yeah,
rest
yeah.
is good.
Yeah, let's redo that. So, in your life, who's been kind of a hero or an inspiration for you?
I think my mum. I think my mother she raised 10 children basically on her own. My father passed away at the age of 52 from cancer, but he also suffered a severe mental health illness. And she went back into the workforce and put the family together and raised everyone by herself. So I think she will always be my hero.
So, as a creative, as a writer, what was the first piece, story that you wrote where you were like, this is a talent. This is something I can go with in my life?
I wrote my award-winning book, The Olive Tree, a few years ago when I was doing something completely different. And I think for me, it was a trauma outlet. You know, some people paint, some people do music, some people do. For me, writing, I discovered early on was my way into healing, I guess. And writing for me, I learned later on during the wars that I experienced, again by chance, that writing with a piece of a few words, actually, you can change a person's life. You can change the perspective. And especially fiction. Fiction plays a big role in people's lives because to them, it's not real. And anything that's not real, we are able to communicate or talk about the subject that we want to talk about because we assume that it never happens in real life.
So what was that book for you? What were the words that you read early on in your life that maybe you come back to or that had a profound impact on you?
That life is not black and white, but many colors in between. I learned
So
that very, very quick on.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a delay. I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's all right.
So
You want me to read the last bit?
you please, yeah.
So I learned really early on in life that life is not black and white, but many colors in between. And that I think has stuck for me until now. You know, we don't, life is not just straight line, there's ups and downs. And if we haven't worn a shoelace, if we haven't worn the shoe, never to tie someone's shoelace.
So let me ask you this. If you can meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational or fascinating, who would that be? Who would you love to meet, whether it's an author or otherwise?
I think I'd love to meet Robert Greene.
Okay. Okay.
I really, really admire his books and a big fan of his, and his perspective is very different. I really enjoy people that have a different perspective on life.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. What's your motivation every day? You have a lot going on with family and your professional life. What gets you out of bed? What motivates you? What makes you create and evolve as a human being?
Well, I want to change the world one book at a time, one film at a time. I've just graduated from film school, become a director. In my businesses, you know, I do a whole array of things, skincare, etc. You're changing people's lives by giving them self-confidence back. I think I also, the most important one is I want to prove to my children and my girls especially that you can be anything you put your mind to it.
Yeah. What about film? What was the film for you early on in your life that was really motivating or that you loved?
I think, you know, growing up, my favorite was the Titanic. You know, it's completely different. It's a romantic sort of thing, but I think there's a lot of, you read between the lines, there's a lot of lessons learned from the Titanic.
Yeah, certainly so. So in your line of work, as somebody that's a teacher and a coach, you have to give a lot of good advice. What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Don't sit at tables that compete, sit at tables that collaborate because people at the top collaborate.
Yeah, for sure. So in your life of helping people, what's been one of your favorite professional client success stories?
Oh, many. I think one of them would be after, you know, like me getting scammed and nearly shutting down her business. They turned it around and you know, not only saved the business, but I think this lovely young lady then pursued her passion, which was completely different from the business, but found her true identity. Because what you start with in business or in life is not what you end up with. It's not your end result.
Yeah. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 16-year-old version of you before you have your first child, and you can give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life. What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, well, I think wouldn't we all change a lot of things? I think I tell my 16-year-old Mariam that, you know, there is a lot of different ways out, and you can definitely become anything you put your mind to it. And, you know, the best is yet to come.
So, of all of the things that you've accomplished and overcome and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I think my children being able to have, you know, a big family at a young age and raising decent kids. You know, my oldest is now 18. You know, um, having kids that are morally have a moral compass in them in a world where we're lacking, ethics and morals. I think that's my biggest accomplishment.
So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
As I told you before, I'm a lost soul, navigating the oceans. I have not found myself. Everything portrayed to the outside is not the real me because I don't even know who me is.
Gotcha. So what's now that you've kind of had this awakening and we've come out of this pandemic, what are your plans? What's kind of your 5-year plan, 10-year plan? What are you looking forward to?
Well, number one, the movie. So my book, we are at the end stage of script writing. So hopefully, in the very near future, you'll see it in cinemas. Continuing my international speaking, hoping to reach the world, motivating especially women in third world countries to be financially independent, to get an education because that's the weapon in life. No one knows what's going to happen to them tomorrow. So when we educate our girls and give them a weapon to hold on to in the darkest of times, I think that's when we'll move forward in society. As my businesses, I always say product businesses are to pay the bills. So as long as we can eat and drink and pay our bills, it's not a legacy for me, but that's my dreams are the speaking and the writing and the charity work that I want to do later on, if God gives us time.
Yeah, for sure. So Australia has to be one of the more enchanting places that I know about on this planet. I haven't been there and I would love to. I'm curious, what do you like the best about living there?
I think of course, I'm going to be a bit biased. It's my country, but I think Australians in general are such kind-hearted people. You never find yourself in difficulty, and you always find a neighbor or someone that's willing to help you, regardless of your race, your ethnicity, your religion. It's a very friendly nation. I think that's one of the best traits about us Australians. Very
Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I agree. So if anyone wants to indulge in your creative works, they want to hire you, reach out, any of the good business, where can they go?
MariamElhouli.com. They can reach me on Instagram. I'm very active there at Mariam.elhouli.
Mariam, we did it. We got through it. Thank you so much for being patient. Thank you for being flexible. I love this. Best of luck with the movie and everything else. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just take